You're good on the floor.
Make sure your mics are on.
Gotcha, Tristan. Yep. They're on?
You two are hardwired in, so.
They are on, at least for the two that are in here with me.
Coming up, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings make a plea to her mother's abductor. A car slams into an LA grocery store, killing 3, and bad news for some workers at the Washington Post. They just got rid of their sports section right before the Super Bowl.
Try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
I know you've been grinding. I know things aren't easy. I wonder if you know that we can get help. Love your mind.
Welcome to The Rundown. I'm Marcella Mazzoni.
And I'm Alex Cruz. NBC Today show host Savannah Guthrie is sending a public message to her 84-year-old mother's kidnapper. The Guthrie family is ready to talk but wants proof that she is alive. Nancy Guthrie, who authorities believe was taken from her Arizona home against her will, was last seen around 9:45 p.m. On Saturday, according to the Sheriff's Department, several media organizations reported receiving alleged ransom notes from Guthrie's kidnappers, which were handed over to investigators. The Sheriff's Department has stated that they are in the midst of a follow-up investigation and are taking the notes seriously. Detectives are still speaking with anyone who had contact with Guthrie last weekend, but no suspects have been identified.
A car crashes into a grocery store in California this afternoon, killing at least 3 and injuring at least 7. The incident took place at 99 Ranch Market in the Westwood section of Los Angeles, near the campus of UCLA. According to an LAFD spokesperson, 2 people were killed when the car hit them outside of the store, and more had to be removed after getting trapped under the car. According to the fire department, 3 patients were listed in serious condition and 2 in minor condition. The appearance of a silver sedan could be seen inside of the store's front area. Initial information suggests that the crash was not intentional, but rather accidental. According to Captain Eric Scott, the building was not compromised. An incredible rescue in Australia, with a 13-year-old boy being hailed a hero for saving his mother and siblings who were stranded at sea. Tina Cross has the story.
A family beach day of kayaking and paddleboarding became a fight for survival off the coast of Australia when strong winds swept 13-year-old Austin Appleby, his mom, and 2 young siblings out to sea. Mom Joanne decided their best hope was to send Austin to shore in a kayak.
I started paddling in the kayak like this.
But it filled with water and he lost an oar, pushing through waves for nearly 4 hours in shark-infested waters.
I was really scared. I was just thinking in my head, like thinking I was going to make it through.
He says prayer and happy thoughts powered him through as he swam 2.5 miles in rough seas.
I just said, all right, not today, not today, not today. I have to keep on going.
And he did, running another mile once on land to get help. Authorities launched a major rescue operation and found the family nearly 9 miles offshore. Fighting back tears, Austin's mom says she's incredibly proud and thankful to her son. Police called Austin's effort superhuman, saying his determination and courage turned the tide and saved the day. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
Coming up, ICE officers wrongfully detained a New Orleans police recruit.
Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Everyone has a ritual. That small thing that keeps us focused.
A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out that self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and your mental health.
Discover the resources that you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
A lack of redaction efforts reveals nude photos and victim names in the recently released documents of the Epstein files. The U.S. Justice Department released these documents in an effort to comply with a law requiring the opening of these files regarding Jeffrey Epstein. Throughout much of the documents, many photos and sensitive information were not redacted despite protections in place for victims, leading to outrage in the public. The Washington Post is laying off 300 of its 800 journalists, including its entire sports department. The cuts come after significant financial losses and a failure to meet reader needs, according to the Post executive editor Matt Murray.
The New Orleans Police Department is denying any wrongdoing after one of its recruits, 46-year-old Cameroonian Larry Temal, was detained by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Temal was enrolled in the department's police academy and was just months away from graduation. Americans are worried about the current political system. About 1/3 of Americans rated politics and government as the top issue facing the nation, behind only Taiwan, which faces a potential invasion from China. The findings come after many events and the rise of President Donald Trump. Events like the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, the largely unsuccessful efforts to prosecute Trump during the Biden administration, and Trump's return to office raised new questions and about the country's political and constitutional guardrails.
Yesterday, the Supreme Court allowed California to use a new voter-approved congressional map that's a Democrat favorite. Ahead of this year's congressional election, California Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, celebrated the court's decision. The control of Congress is at stake with this year's election. The House of Representatives splits are 218 Republicans and 214 Democrats. Will this change shake the House?
President Donald Trump is taking steps towards installing a Christopher Columbus replica statue near the White House. The previous statue was removed and placed into the Baltimore Harbor during Trump's first term amid protests against institutional racism. John Pica, a Maryland lobbyist and the owner of the statue, has agreed to loan it to the federal government to be placed at or near the White House. The Federal Agency for Protecting Workers' Civil Rights revealed yesterday that it is investigating sports giant Nike for allegedly discriminating against white employees through its diversity policies. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission filed a motion in Missouri federal court demanding that Nike fully comply with a subpoena for information. The EEOC looked at the company's rules for selecting employees for layoffs, how it tracks and uses workers' race and ethnicity data, the information about programs. Nike said in a statement that the subpoena feels like a surprising and unusual escalation and is cooperating with the investigation.
Nuclear talks between Iran and the United States will take place tomorrow in Oman as tension remains high between the countries following Tehran's crackdown on national protests. The announcement Wednesday by Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi came after hours of indications that were anticipated talks were weakening over the format and content changes. President Donald Trump sent a blunt warning to Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei ahead of the talks, saying he should be very worried.
Ryan Roth was sentenced to life after plotting to assassinate President Trump at the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach during the 2024 presidential election campaign. Before his sentencing, he told the judge, Cannon, that I've given every drop of who I am and every day for the benefit of our nation.
Coming up, educators are suing to keep immigration agents from schools and bus stops. Trump's high stakes are phenomenal with China, and news around entertainment. We come right back.
And now it's time to talk about our Q&A about the indecency photos of Twitter. All right. Can you explain the connection between AI and non-consensual explicit imagery?
Yes, users are able to utilize AI image generating or editing software to create fake images of women and minors. They're able to feed in real photos from Google or social media into these Nudify apps and create non-consensual sexualized images. The ease of access of creating these images has created concerns involving child exploitation images as well as revenge porn. Women and girls have been the biggest targets of these images across all platforms.
And how does Elon Musk's chatbot Grok contribute to all this?
According to a study by Dublin's Trinity Institute, nearly 3/4 of all searches on X involve asking Grok to modify, which means adding or getting rid of clothing of women and minors. Grok also has a spicy mode, which allows for more expletive and provocative images to be created. Musk has received some concerns or critiques regarding what some are calling a delayed response to the creation of these images.
And what exactly are some safeguards that he's planning to put in?
According to Musk, X is going to ban any people who spread these child sexual exploitation images. Additionally, users who want to use Grok's AI imaging software will now have to pay a subscription fee. Also, Grok will no longer allow people to edit real photos of people that they find on social media or Google. But this restriction only applies to those within jurisdictions that already have made this illegal.
And how does the U.S. government plan to handle the deepfakes?
Certain states, like California, have already said that they plan on further investigating the deepfake images created by these AI chatbots. But the actual federal government has been slower to move or to make legislation regarding these deepfakes. The federal government has just released a statement to NBC News saying that they plan to only target the people who create these images. No, they plan to target the people that ask for these images and not the people who actually create them.
I also wanted to know, Aaliyah, what has been the U.S. government's response to these deepfakes?
As stated, the government has really not created any real legislation to regulate the creation of these deepfakes. It's mostly been a state-based regulation system.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. China's President Xi Jinping presses President Trump on Taiwan in their recent 2-hour call. A description of the call from Chinese state media said it was much more forceful than President Trump had described, who said it went, quote, excellent. President Xi says Taiwan will never be allowed to separate from China in the United States. Opinion of Taiwan is the most important issue as the leaders work to ease tension between the two countries.
Educators in Minnesota filed a federal lawsuit to stop ICE agents from conducting immigration enforcement near bus stops and schools. This lawsuit is being brought in by a teachers' union group called Education Minnesota in the Duluth and Fridley school districts.
Former U.S. Representative Lee Hamilton passed away yesterday peacefully in his Bloomfield, Indiana home at the age of 94. In 2015, former President Barack Obama presented him with the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his honesty, his wisdom, and his consistent commitment to bipartisanship.
A fire breaks out at the Lehigh Valley Hospital in Dixon City campus in Pennsylvania Wednesday night, leading to the evacuation of over 70 patients. According to fire officials, every available emergency medical service within 50 miles of the hospital attended to the scene. As of this morning, one person was listed in critical condition. USC's newly appointed president rejects a conservative favoring proposal. Byung-So Kim originally served as interim president of the Southern California University before officially gaining the position this week. In October, the Trump administration sent out a proposal to 9 U.S. colleges. In exchange for funding, the schools would have to limit international enrollment and freeze tuition. Universities would also be required to take steps to project conservative ideals. Kim rejected the proposal, believing that it could undermine the values of free inquiry and academic excellence.
Now to entertainment, where Logan Stewart updates us on the Grammys.
Thanks, guys. In entertainment news, our first story of the night comes from the Grammy Awards, which delivered a historic evening celebrating the year's top artists in music. The night featured standout performances from Lady Gaga, Sabrina Carpenter, Justin Bieber, Olivia Dean, and several others, keeping audiences entertained throughout music's biggest night. Trevor Noah returned as host for the 6th consecutive year, continuing his run as the familiar face of the Grammys and guiding viewers through an unforgettable ceremony. One of the biggest moments of the night came from Bad Bunny, who took home Album of the Year, making history as the first Spanish-language artist to win the award. Kendrick Lamar also had a major night, winning 5 awards, including Record of the Year. With those wins, Lamar became the all-time winningest rapper in Grammy history, further cementing his legacy in rap music. Turning now to television news, actress Catherine O'Hara passed away last Friday at the age of 71. O'Hara was best known for her memorable roles in films such as Home Alone and Beetlejuice, along with a long and celebrated career in television and comedy. Tributes from fans and fellow actors have poured in, honoring her impact on entertainment and comedy. And finally tonight, Jon Hamm will take the stage as host of the 15th Annual NFL Honor Awards. The event will be held at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, where the Super Bowl is held, and this is where the league will recognize its top players, coaches, and moments from the season. That's a look at entertainment. I'm Logan Stewart. Back to you guys.
Coming up, we will have major world news.
We all deserve a place to call home. That's an American dream.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire, and how to control the flames. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
San Francisco residents are nervous that ICE will appear at Super Bowl 60. The NFL and federal officials have assured individuals that there will be no ICE presence at the Super Bowl. However, DHS will be present at the Super Bowl per standard procedures. Rallies, marches, and protests have broken out across the Bay Area. There is unease due to mixed messages from DHS.
The man who falsely claimed to have killed Charlie Kirk is sentenced to prison in the moments after the conservative activist was gunned down in September in Utah. The 71-year-old man approached a detective and told them that he shot Kirk. George Zinn pleaded no contest last Thursday to 1 count of obstruction of justice and faces up to 5 years in prison on that charge. Texas A&M University professor Melissa McColl from the English department, who was fired last year after a controversy in the classroom. McColl showed a video showing a student objecting to a children's literature lesson about gender identity. Republican lawmakers, most notable Texas Governor Greg Abbott, has called for her termination after watching the video. Now let's hear from Christina from a special report with Sarah Shockey, sports editor for The Wit.
Today I'm joined by Wit sports editor Sarah Shockey. Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Christina. How are you?
Good. So you're a part of The Wit, which is Rowan's newspaper. So what made you decide to join the newspaper and then eventually become its sports editor?
So in high school, I was the editor-in-chief of Clearview Regional High School's newspaper, The Pioneer. So going into college, I knew that I wanted to pursue journalism. Then I came to Rowan. My first week of classes, I knew I wanted to join The Wit, but I had a class during that time, so I met with my advisor and switched out of it so I could go to the Wit meetings. And, you know, 3 years later, almost 4, here I am now as the sports editor, which I absolutely love. It's the position that I didn't expect to end up in, but I'm very, very happy that I did.
What made you have a passion for writing?
So I think the reason why I had the passion for writing was growing up, I was a very shy kid. I was very, very quiet, and I didn't really talk to a lot of people, especially in elementary school. So writing for me was kind of like my avenue to like say what was on my mind, but I didn't have to like speak it. So I would find myself, whether it would be journaling or just like writing down little rambles. I just always was writing, and I loved English class too, and I love to read. So I think writing, it's just a way for me to like put my passions on paper, and I like seeing other people read them, and I like telling stories, because there's no better feeling than if you write an article about somebody and they read it and they're like, wow, I saw myself in a newspaper, thank you for doing that. And I just think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, obviously. For the people who would want to join the WIT or get involved in it, or maybe even just get involved with sports, because the sports communication and media major is becoming very large here at Rowan. So if they wanted to pursue something in journalism or in the newspaper, how would they go about doing that?
So the WIT meets every Wednesday at 5 o'clock in Bosworth Hall, room 108. You don't have to be a journalism or a sports community major. We welcome all majors, all skill levels. Like, don't be afraid to come and talk to us. We just want to help people start writing. That's really all we're here for. And especially with sports, I have beat writers that cover every single team. So if you are interested in sports writing, pop out to the WIT, take a couple stories, and if your writing, I think, has what it takes, I will definitely consider you to be a beat writer.
So as the sports editor, walk me kind of through, like, what does a typical week look like for you? Obviously right now we have men's and women's basketball, men's and women's swimming, indoor track and field. I'm not missing anything, right?
No, that's it.
Yeah, so what in a typical week, assuming all three of those sports are going on, does it look like for you?
So basically what I have to do is obviously manage all the games to make sure somebody's there. The beat writers usually let me know, and if there's a conflict, I find a replacement. And then they have 90 minutes to 2 hours after the game's done to give you their story. So no matter where I am or what time of day it is, I have to sit down there and edit it and get it published. I've been up till 4 in the morning waiting for stuff to get published, and that's just what I have to do, because just staying timely and staying on deadline. And then on Wednesday nights, the paper copies of the WIT comes out on Thursdays. So on Wednesday nights from about 5 o'clock till about midnight, 1 in the morning, I am there, all the editors and I are there, putting together the pages, making sure everything looks right. And yeah, so it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time management, a lot of crazy wonky hours being up, whether it be super early or very, very late at night. But it's all worth it in the end, because the WIT, we've been around since 1938. Every single week we put out a physical paper that takes over 10 hours to put together, like only on Wednesdays, and then throughout the week it's way more. So it's just a really rewarding thing to get to see a paper copy every week.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks.
All right, guys, back to you at the desk.
A federal judge says ICE agents in Oregon can no longer make arrests without warrants. U.S. District Judge Mustafa Kasubai issued the ruling as part of a class action lawsuit aimed at the Department of Homeland Security. The lawsuit primarily focuses on the DHS policy of arresting any suspected immigrants they come across. Some critics are calling the immigration crackdown an arrest first and justify later tactic. Now here's Connor with the latest news from around the world.
Israel carried out deadly airstrikes in Gaza on Wednesday, killing at least 24 Palestinians, including 2 infants. The strikes have repeatedly disrupted a truce that had been in place since October 10th. Meanwhile, the last remaining nuclear arms control agreement between the United States and Russia is set to expire today. The end of the START treaty would remove limits on the world's 2 largest nuclear arsenals for the first time in more than 50 years. Raising fears of an unconstrained nuclear arms race, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he is willing to abide by the treaty's limits for another year, but President Donald Trump has not committed to doing the same. Finally, Iran and the United States have agreed to hold nuclear talks this Friday in Oman. The announcement comes as President Donald Trump issued a blunt warning to Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The 2 sides discussed similar issues last year and are hoping to reach a mutual agreement. Now back to the desk.
And when we come back, Sam has a look at sports before the big game.
Hate is loud. It gets clicks. It gets attention. Hate, however, is actually quite small. But love. Love is the majority. Love fills our hearts, our lives, our everyday.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut, the one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end, so you better buckle in. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax. It always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat.
Philadelphia police are searching for a 27-year-old tow truck operator accused of being in connection with 2 separate deadly tow truck shootings. According to investigators, Najee Williams' violence stemmed from a territory dispute with other tow truck drivers. Anyone who sees him is urged to contact authorities.
A man dies after being pulled from an intentional home fire. Early Wednesday morning, a fire broke out at a Southwest Philadelphia row home. The blaze was discovered near Kingsing Avenue after 1:30 a.m. when there was a report of residents being trapped inside. Police reported that a man was found in a back bedroom and taken to the hospital where he later passed. Authorities have taken a person of interest into custody for questioning at this time. The northeast cold front has delayed assault delivery to Philadelphia. Think ice or the Delaware River continues to slow vessel traffic. Philadelphia's street departments are still waiting for assault shipment from the ships. In the river, there are large chunks of ice making it more difficult to resupply the river.
The newest release of the Epstein files reveals ties between Epstein and college professors. Over 3 million files, videos, and photos were released in the recent batch. A professor from Yale is among the most prominent figures among those listed. Top hockey prospect Gavin McKenna was charged with a felony assault on Wednesday in State College, Pennsylvania. The 18-year-old allegedly struck the 21-year-old male in the face, causing injuries that require corrective surgery. McKenna was also charged with a simple assault, a misdemeanor, and summary charges of harassment and disorderly conduct.
New data from the U.S. World News and Report shows that 2/3 of the country's 3 to 5-year-olds are on track to enroll in kindergarten. Thousands of parents filled out a form about their child in 5 categories, including early learning, motor skills, self-regulation, social emotional development, and health. To answer the big question, is their child ready for school? On Wednesday, a federal prosecutor in Minneapolis was fired from the U.S. Attorney's Office after she expressed frustration with the aggressive immigration crackdown from the Trump administration. Julie T. Lee was in federal court on Tuesday and said that she and her colleagues were very overwhelmed by the number of cases that they had been forced to handle in Minnesota. Lee was also a lawyer at ICE, and it is unclear whether she was also fired from that role.
Who do you have in the Super Bowl this Sunday? Next, Sam Prince with sports.
Thanks, guys. Super Bowl Sunday is all set for the New England Patriots to take on the Seattle Seahawks. This will be both Drake May's and Sam Darnold's first start in the big game. If May and the Patriots get the win, he'll become the 4th quarterback to win the Super Bowl as a starter in his 2nd NFL season. This is the first appearance in the Super Bowl in the post-Brady era for New England. The last time they played in the big game was in Super Bowl 53, where New England Patriots defeated the Los Angeles Rams 13-3 to capture their 6th Lombardi Trophy, tying the Pittsburgh Steelers with the most ever. After seeing ghosts and being written off, Sam Darnold did not write back. He'll be the first quarterback from the 2018 NFL Draft to start in the Super Bowl. It's been 11 years since the Seahawks played on Super Bowl Sunday. And the last time they were in the Super Bowl, well, that was in Super Bowl 49, where Seattle fell to New England 28-24. Kickoff for Super Bowl 60 will be on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. The NBA trade deadline has passed. Well, it was not quiet. James Harden is on the move yet again. The 11-time All-Star and 2018 MVP will play for his 6th team in his 17th NBA season. The Los Angeles Clippers traded him to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland and a 2nd-round pick. The Philadelphia 76ers traded fan favorite Jared McCain to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a 2026 Houston Rockets 1st-round pick and 3 2nd-round picks. The Winter Olympics are back, and the USA is sending 238 athletes to Milan Cortina, with one of the most notable athletes being Lindsey Vonn from Team USA, where she's still going to compete despite tearing her ACL in the final World Cup downhill before the game started. Vonn will compete in the women's downhill, women's combined, and women's Super G. After coming out of retirement, Vonn is looking to write a story where she's going to ski into the sunset. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Sam. The national elections in the U.S. Trump wants to nationalize elections in the U.S. This can be a dangerous moment for the relationship between the federal government and the top election officials across the country. Currently, the executive branch has no authority over elections. Trump has made efforts to involve his administration in election voting matters, wanting to overturn the 2020 election and more.
On to the weather. Temperature rise this week, and Punxsutawney Phil decides the fate of winter. Here's Jackson with more.
Good evening and welcome to your 5-day weather forecast. My name is Jackson Hesley, and this weekend we are going to see some colder temperatures, but throughout the week it's going to be warming up. So let's take a look at Thursday first. We are going to be seeing a high of 32 and a low of 15 with some clouds making their way in through the night. Now moving into the weekend on Friday, those clouds are going to stay throughout the day with a high of 30 and a low of 13. And on Saturday, it's going to get pretty cold with some wind, a high of 25 and a low of 6, and you're also still going to see some of those clouds from Friday. Then on Sunday, those clouds are going to disappear, and we're finally going to get some sun with a high of 20 and a low of 5. And then moving into the week, on Monday, we are going to be seeing a couple of clouds throughout the day with a high of 28 and a low of 6. And then Monday, we're finally going to see some warmer temperatures with a high of 35 and a low of 15. That is all for your 5-day weather forecast. Now let's take a look at the weather window.
3, 2, 1, cam 1.
All right, and welcome to your weather window. So we're going to take a look at some pictures of Glassboro. It was a pretty warm. It was a warmer day here in Glassboro. We had some sun coming out, but there's still some snow on the ground, blocking some paths as well. But it was pretty sunny, and that concludes our weather window. So, you guys ready for this cold coming up this weekend?
Honestly, no. I'm scared for this cold weather. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it again.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
No, yeah. It feels like it's every week now, and I'm just over it.
It's getting rough, but warmer weather's on the way.
Yes. Thank you, Jackson, for joining us.
Thank you. All right. And that concludes the National Rundown. This is Alex.
And I'm Marcella.
Signing off.